living with this feeling for a while. If death is coming, I'ma greet so live it up, nigga, we gon' live it up. So can't get enough, ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Just split it up, you know how I like my blunts, bro. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right. So live it up, nigga, we gon' live it up. So can't get enough, ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Just split it up, you know how I like my blunts, bro. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right, yeah. I woke up and the city was on fire. You could see the pandemonium for miles. I've been living with this feeling for a while. If death is coming, I'ma greet him with us. I've been living like push the pedal to the metal till I see the flag blowing chunks out the ozone while I burn the gas crackers on my ass. Think I'm finna crash. I ain't worried till I hit the curb. Vision blurs, learn every word. Coupe in this filled with different flavors. They just wanna live something I could give life in the 16. Painting pictures like the 16. Even now I'm on my back staring at the ceiling wondering what this shit mean. I don't wanted this my whole life. Now I'm here feeling so right. Getting faded in the strobe lights. Nigga, I could do this all night. Show me life, show me love, show me something real, show me something brand new. Take your time, ain't no rush. I just wanna feel everything you've been through. We ain't leaving till they shut it down. So take advantage when it come around. Doing damage every time we out. They gon' remember me without a doubt. Nigga, we gon' live it up, so can't get enough, ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Just split it up, you know how I like my blunts, bro. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right. So live it up, nigga, we gon' live it up, so can't get enough, ain't no bottom to my cup, no. Just split it up, you know how I like my blunts, bro. If I'ma go tonight, then I'ma do it right, yeah. I woke up and the city was on fire. You could see the pandemonium for miles. I've been living with this feeling for a while. If death is coming, I'ma greet them with us. Everyone dies, but have you been living? Take full advantage of what you've been given. You woke up, you winning. If that ain't enough, fuck up a check and go live it up. Me and my niggas, we pull up and not ready or not. Before you know it, I'm feeling the vibe.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Gap Wedge Wednesday. I am your host, Tyson TRL Business Time. With me, as always, is Off the Schneid. We got a great program for you today. We're going to be talking about some NFL, and then we're going to get into our golf picks for the week. It's going to be a jam-packed day. Jeffrey, how are we doing today on Hump Day?
It is Hump Day. It's a great day. Beautiful, sunny Orlando, Florida. God bless where we live. An amazing place. It's a little bit of a bittersweet day for me, honestly. Today's the day that my entire family, wife, in-laws, kids, everybody is leaving to go to Europe for about 9 days and travel over there. But Daddy's got to stay home, and somebody's got to make the money to pay for Europe. So here we are.
Somebody does.
I got a lot going on today, though. I got a lot of errands to run. You know how it is when you're trying to get everything together at the very last minute, make sure everybody's squared away. And they have these things now where because I'm not going, but my wife is going with my kids, and you have to get these waivers signed. They have to be notarized, basically saying that I'm allowing her to take them and stuff like that. So very, very interesting the way that everything works.
We touched on that a little bit. I think that that's actually a good thing, as we talked about,
Yeah, it's fine.
People trying to steal their kids, take them out of the country, and get ready for what. It was a beautiful day over here at the Thomas household. Yesterday we washed some cars and got the 4 inches of pollen off of them. Oh my gosh, dude, it's something over here. We put up with a little bit, but we get a lot in return. We need to get into the rainy season a little bit. My allergies are getting a little crazy.
I feel like we haven't had rain in a long time. It's been
We haven't.
Super dry start to our year this year, which is kind of abnormal for us. Usually we get a pronounced amount of rain, so.
Which is definitely necessary to knock the pollen down, and we are just not getting it.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. We got a jam-packed show today. We got so much movement going on in the NFL. 11:30, we're bringing in Chad and Paul for our second Gap Wedge Wednesday, which turned out to be some great picks from last week. We're going to recap the Arnold. We're going to get into the Players' Championship. Let's get into it. The NFL, the franchise tag deadline is over, past. We saw some serious movement within the NFL, and then we saw some pretty questionable decisions. We're going to top it off with the very first one, which is going to be probably the most talked about one across all, is Lamar Jackson receiving the non-exclusive franchise tag, which we both agreed the Ravens should do. Let's get into it. We got a jam-packed show today. We got so much movement going on in the NFL. 11:30, we're bringing in Chad and Paul for our second Gap Wedge Wednesday, which turned out to be some great picks from last week. We're going to recap the Arnold. We're going to get into the Players' Championship. Let's get into it. The NFL, the franchise tag deadline is over, past. We saw some pretty questionable decisions. We're going to top it off with the very first one, which is going to be probably the most talked about one across all, is Lamar Jackson receiving the non-exclusive franchise tag, which we both agreed the Ravens should do. I think now he's available to go out and shop around. One thing that I did find interesting about that is what you put on there the other day, that he's not allowed to talk to people that don't have first round picks until after the draft.
Correct, because technically the compensation would be the first round pick for Lamar Jackson. So like he can't talk to a team like the Dolphins, let's say, until after the draft's already gone through, because then they would be able to be negotiated on next year's draft picks. Basically, is the way it works.
I don't understand that, because why would they be able to negotiate? And if they came to it, then the Dolphins would have an opportunity to trade for a draft pick into the first round.
His compensation is guaranteed two
first rounds
picks, no matter what. So if you don't have a first round pick this year, then technically you can't negotiate until after that league year has started or whatever it is.
So it can't be future first round picks. It couldn't be the next 2 years.
But it's not like you get to pick and choose what picks they are. It's whatever your next two first round picks are.
I don't know. I find that kind of weird. But anyway,
what do you think about? I mean, I have a few thoughts on Lamar. First of all, and listen, from the Ravens, it's a genius move that you do, right? You come out, you say we're gonna, not exclusively franchise you, to let you shop yourself around the market after negotiating for an entire year. We'll match if we want to, what any team comes out and offers you. And if we don't get it, then we're gonna get 2 first round picks back for you. We'll see how happy that this is gonna make Lamar in the long run. It feels like to me, when you have 6 teams that automatically come out and say, we're not going to pursue Lamar, and teams that need quarterbacks, after we saw what Russell Wilson just went for last year, right? You're talking 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th, after seeing that and knowing the skill set that Lamar Jackson has, the fact that people aren't trying to jump at that, is it collusion?
Absolutely.
Is this something that, because we've discussed this and we didn't know if it was coming down the pipe or not. And it feels like collusion to me.
It's absolutely 100% collusion. I think the owners got together after the Browns and the Deshaun Watson and said, you know what, fuck this. We're not doing this. And we all need to stick together. And you can't tell me otherwise that the Ravens know that whatever he was asking for is not going to be offered out there, and that's why I think they do that. And there's a lot of people talking about, well, you're going to piss off Lamar. Okay, so if he doesn't get what he wants, all right, and then he comes back and signs with you, he's going to play pissed off. Or if you match what he is, okay, so now you match it, he still comes back and pissed off. There's already tension. You can't tell me that there's not tension between the two of them. The fact that he doesn't have a contract and he didn't get what he wants. The thing that just amazes me, and I guess it's none of our business, but to sit here and be analytical and talk about this, we still don't know what that is. It's the same with the Roquans. We don't know what he's asking for. So until we get to that number, then I guess it's all just, we'll pull shit out. You got things coming out of Lamar's camp saying, no, we didn't do this. You got things coming out of Ravens camp saying, yeah, well, this, just tell us. If it's not that big of a deal, just tell us, because we're going to find out eventually. But I think 100% collusion. I think that the Ravens doing this is very, very smart. Because if somebody is stupid enough to give whatever this exorbitant amount is that they feel that he's not with, they're going to get 2 first-round picks out of it. And as we've stated, the next quarterback class is really good. They start elsewhere. But, I mean, I don't know. I think it's very, very interesting.
Like, you're able to make these decisions because you have such a good defense and because that position for them has pretty much become kind of a plug and play. Now, Lamar is obviously an amazing athlete, an amazing talent, way better than a Tyler Huntley, let's say, who is their backup right now.
Who did perform well.
A Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Threw for 2 touchdowns, made the Pro Bowl. Go figure. But you do have this flexibility to be able to make these decisions when you have such a great defense and such a great back end back there, to be able to be a little bit more gambling a little bit, I would say, is what this is. And we'll see how it plays out. I do feel bad. I don't know. And then how do you prove this? How do you prove collusion if you're Lamar Jackson's camp or Lamar Jackson's side?
You're not. You're not.
And to me, we can kind of transition into this as well, too. They're only giving Lamar this amount of money, and Daniel Jones is going out and getting $40 million a year.
Well, we're going to get into Daniel Jones here, but we just don't know what he's asking. It's got to be close to 55, 60 million a year. It has to be. If Mahomes,
I would say 50.
Mahomes got 52 years ago, it's got to be more. It's got to be more. But again, we don't know. All we can do is stand here and piss into the wind and make assumptions until we know. But I think that's where I think the Ravens did the axle. If you don't think that that's good enough, and that's what the hill that they're ready to die on, then go find out and see if anybody else can do it. And if they do, then okay, we'll match it. But we don't think that that's going to happen. Another really, really interesting franchise tag is the Cowboys franchise tag Tony Pollard. For I think it's $10.5 million hit. You got Zeke out there for $15.5 million. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we both agree that Tony Pollard is the featured back on here. Is Zeke getting cut? I mean, you're going to roll with $25 million in running backs?
Well, listen, and when Mike McCarthy fired Kellen Moore, or they parted ways mutually, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Hey, amicably, he did. Wow, nice word, by the way.
Thank you.
He did say that he just wanted to run the damn ball. You know, he didn't understand why they wanted to truck the ball over the yard. Just run the damn ball. You know, listen, Mike McCarthy.
Is that an accent there?
This is today's NFL, right? And today's NFL is not the same thing that you were doing with, you know, Ryan Gant and, you know, whoever your other running back. Well, Amon Green back there, you know, for the Packers. You know, it's completely different now. It is chuck the ball over the yard. I don't know. This would be the most amount of money ever spent at the running back position in the history of the NFL. If Zeke keeps his contract the way it is, plus Tony Pollard, it's just.
I think there is something to be said to be running the ball down somebody's throat though, because that will open up the pass game and take more pressure off of Dak. But you got to have an O line to do it.
Yeah. Weird moves from the Cowboys this year. I don't really understand it unless we see another shoe drop on the other side with Ezekiel Elliott getting cut. I'm not sure what his dead cap hit would be and if that would be worth it. Yeah, so how would that be worth it for them?
I think it's something like $35 million.
I think the only way that they could do it is if they decided to extend Zeke a year and he decided to restructure his contract and basically balance out that money over an extra year, knowing that he might not get another payday again in the NFL.
I definitely think if we go into this season, right, and Tony Pollard becomes the featured back and Zeke continues his degression, then you're absolutely right. It's curtains. And I think you will see a move after that. But I think, as to what you said, my initial thought was that Zeke was going to get cut. But then, you know, after you just reminded me about McCarthy wanting to run the ball, I think they're going to do this experiment this year. I think they're going to go with it. They're going to see what they could do on the ground, try to take as much pressure off of Dak as they can. But if Zeke doesn't put up yards this year, as a complimentary back or whatever, I definitely think that he's on his way out of the league, unfortunately, because he was such an explosive back a few years ago. That to see how far, you know, he's come down is a little bit disappointing.
It's very interesting too, because, you know, look, one thing I'll give to Mike McCarthy, he is putting his money where his mouth is. You know, they are doing everything that he said he wanted to do, and his vision for the team. He is truly molding it into what he thinks is going to be a winner. And, you know, a lot of guys nowadays will flip-flop on shit. He is not doing that. He's doubling down, right? He's splitting sixes, you know, and we're going to see what happens. It's either going to go really well for him or the Cowboys are going to have a new head coach in 2 years.
And I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, they were talking about firing him last year. Now, he has some questionable time management, which we all agree with. But, I mean, he did win, I think, 10, 12 games last year?
He's been terrible his entire career at time management, though. That's not something that's new to him. It's been a bugaboo of his for many years now.
Woo!
That we've talked about, you know. And listen, we've said you could give me any random 12 or 13-year-old Madden player at the end of game situations who's going to do better than Mike McCarthy will over and over and over again and make the right call. I don't know how to help him with that.
I don't know either. Well, speaking of help, the Saints sure did pick up a big one. They got Derek Carr, signed 4-year, $150 million contract, you know, after he met with the Saints, which I thought was really funny. And the Raiders were trying to work out a trade clause. He said, nah, I don't want to be traded. Keep your shitty $20 million a year contract that I had. I'm getting $37.5 million a year now. C'est la vie. I think it obviously puts the Saints as the top contender in the NFC South division just with his name alone. Obviously, we'll see what the Bucks can do and what moves are left. My biggest concern and my biggest question is this: as a team that was the most over the salary cap in 60 plus million as the Saints were, even with the 15 million that's coming up next year, how do we sign a guy that has a $28.5 million signing bonus and 100 million guaranteed with the majority of it on the front end? How is that working out?
I don't know, and I know they made a bunch of moves already. I saw 4 or 5 different transactions where they restructured guys, extended guys, got rid of guys just to create salary cap space, and they were doing a really good job going forward with that. I'm not sure how much money they saved cutting Jameis. I think it's only a couple mil. I don't think it's anything crazy, but
I think it was 12. I think it was 12.
As well.
12? I want to say it was 12.5. But still, that's still a long way from 60. Plus, you added double that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they did it. Listen, people ask the same question about the Bucks for 3 years in a row. Where is all this money coming from? How do they get it? How do they just add void years to all these contracts? They're going to be so screwed in 3 years, and it's like, well, yes, you are, but it also brought you a Super Bowl and it brought you relevancy for the past 3 years and 2 division titles. So, and home playoff games.
Same with the Rams, right? When the Rams were signing all these guys, that wait,
Rams,
what, who, what? Are they they got a money machine?
Done the exact same thing.
Well, like I said, I think it vaults the Saints up. However, I still think that the Bucks could have the better team, depending on the cap casualties that we see continue to fall out. Whether or not any other moves that they make, draft is obviously another big one. But I don't think I'm sitting here ready to crown the Saints as the NFC champ, South champ. I've seen Derek Carr in Las Vegas with plenty of weapons not perform. The Panthers' defense, even though their offense isn't there, the defense is there. What moves are the Falcons going to make? Are they going to have an entire team healthy with a competent quarterback this year? They have the weapons on the offense. I'm not ready to crown them yet, but obviously this is going to make them a front runner in that division.
They are who we thought they were.
They are.
Crown them, the crown they asked.
Let them off the hook.
I think the NFC South will be one of the most interesting divisions in all of football going forward this year. That being said, you're going to have 4 teams with 4 brand new quarterbacks. I think it's the first time since 1957 that's happened in a division where every single team changed quarterbacks in the offseason. I think that it'll be very interesting to see what the Falcons do in the draft. Because there's a possibility that when it comes to the draft, you have a C.J. Stroud going to Atlanta. You have an Anthony Richardson going to Carolina. Now you have Derek Carr over here in New Orleans, and now you have Kyle Trask in Tampa. The biggest unknown is going to be Kyle Trask. He's going to have weapons. The Bucs are going to provide him with opportunities to hopefully be protected well. It looks like with Donovan Smith being cut, Tristan Wirfs will move over to that left tackle position. We will slide in over at right tackle. I'm not sure who, probably Wells or Haynes. I don't really know. I don't know who's going to go over there. But it looks like that will be a nice switch up for him. Obviously, Wirfs did play left tackle in college, went to right tackle just because Donovan Smith already had that position locked down. He will go back to his natural position now and probably continue to be a perennial Pro Bowler. I think if you're the Bucs, you just got to tell Tristan Wirfs, look, we're going to give you the most money that's ever been given to an offensive lineman in the history of the NFL. It's going to be next year, and we appreciate your patience with us while we get all this shit off of our books.
And it's talking about that number is about $20 million now per year.
But it 100% should be. It should be $20 million a year for a tackle like Tristan Wirfs. I don't think that's overpaying or under whatsoever. Especially when you see wide receivers getting this crazy money, and those sometimes are a dime a dozen as well. Listen, I think it's a great move for the Saints. I think they got a lot better. I think they shored up. They're still going to have a great defense, with Lattimore back there and Davenport and Cam Jordan and, the Mario Davis and all those guys. It'll be very interesting. Let's see what happens. Do they keep Jarvis Landry? Do we now see Michael Thomas be healthy? Olave, Kamara, what's going to happen with his entire situation? Saints are a big question mark right now, but they definitely got a lot better with this move.
Here's my biggest curveball with the NFC South. Lamar Jackson to the Atlanta Falcons.
So the Falcons already came out and said that they are not pursuing Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, but that's in public. Behind closed doors, we can speculate. But Lamar Jackson on an Atlanta Falcons team with Kyle Pitts, with London and Patterson, I think that team competes.
I agree with you, but the teams that have already come out and said that they're not going to pursue Lamar, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Commanders, and the Raiders, I believe, so far. So
It's amazing that they come out and say that, though. That's just weird.
dude, like, and that's what I'm saying too. Like, you came out and said that, like, literally an
Instantly.
hour after they did it. It's just
They probably just don't want to be asked the questions day in and day out, especially when they're trying to focus on the players that they have. Maybe that, solidifies the mentality of the quarterback that they do have. But who cares? I mean, at the end of the day, you're not in training camp yet. Whatever. Geno Smith, another big one. 3-year, $105 million extension. Now, the biggest one to this one just blows my mind is, and I put up the stat, Geno Smith's career earnings is $17.7 million, which I thought that was really low considering. I know he ended up going like the third round or something, but I thought that was just really low. But he did fizzle out under his rookie contract, so therefore he probably got backup. But now in his one contract, he's going to make more money in 1 year 3 times over. So congratulations to Geno Smith. I think that the Seahawks absolutely did right by this one. You got to give him another shot. I don't know the complete breakdown of his contract as far as what's guaranteed or what's not, but based on last year alone, that team wasn't even expected to compete. They did have one of the best drafts in the NFL. They got so much potential. I think that's about the right time too. 3 years gives them probably 1.5 years, 2 years. Probably there's a third team option or whatever. But congratulations to Geno Smith. To getting his. Do you have anything you want to say on Geno there before we get into the big one?
Well, listen, I think it's awesome to see when a guy comes out and takes you to where he did, that they actually are going to reward him for how he played. At 32 years old, you could say it's a flash in the pan, not sign him, move on. It proves to your locker room that you pay guys who go out there and lay it on the line for you. If you look at continuity in football teams, Seattle has it. Right? Like, you're still going to have your exact same group back. Kenneth Walker III is just going to get better. He's going to be an absolute monster next year in fantasy football. You still have Tyler Lockett. You still have DK Metcalf, right?
Absolutely.
Add in Noah Fant, right, at tight end, who they got back in that Russell Wilson trade, who's an awesome tight end as well, too. And now you just build on your defense and your lines. Really, you have all those positions squared away. You just need depth pieces everywhere. And if you look at that division, right, the Rams way down. Let's see what happens with who they keep or whether they decide to have a fire sale, because I think a fire sale is coming very, very shortly, especially if they start off like 1-4, 1-3, something like that. I think you could just see McVay pull the parachute and get out of there. Will the 49ers be able to produce the exact same they did without a guy like Brock Purdy, who's just out there managing football games, letting the defense play? And then you look at the shit show that is the Arizona Cardinals, who's been a dumpster fire of an organization ever since they've been around. So, listen, continuity and in that division, absolutely. give me a lot of Seahawks shares next year.
I think 3 years again is perfect. I think you're going to see them draft a quarterback if not this year, then next year, to start bringing along as their future. But definitely. I think we could all agree that was just a great signing. Now, the signing that I think that we all agree and kind of were scratching our heads with was the New York Football Giants. Daniel Jones, 4 years, $160 million, $40 million a year. That's more than Derek Carr. So we're talking about 45, 50. It's going to be still relevant to Lamar or whatever else he has. Wow. I just $40 million a year for 4 years.
Yeah. I didn't see this. I knew what he was asking for. I didn't think that New York would actually give it to him. Listen, this is all. Let's give credit to Dayball here, right? He did a great job with Daniel Jones last year, and he had done a great job with Josh Allen the year before. Obviously, Dayball sees something in Daniel Jones that he thinks that he can replicate and turn into that same kind of guy that he had Josh Allen in that amazing season that he had 2 years ago.
But was he really that great last year?
Who, Daniel Jones?
Correct. Yes.
For what he was the years previous, I thought he was pretty damn good.
I'm just talking about relative to the league. Relative to the league.
They're two different things, We're talking about what Daniel Jones can maximize or, his ceiling, I thought last year was a great first year under Dayball for Daniel Jones. Didn't turn the ball over too much. Ran the ball all over the field, if we're going to be honest with ourselves.
Running, he was great, yes.
And rushing, I don't know what he finished for the year, but it was definitely top 5 in quarterbacks for rushing without a doubt. And then he just minimized what he had to do on offense with making throws.
He rushed for 708 yards last year. He also
Well,
he only threw for 15 touchdowns.
Correct. Yeah, but he didn't have to. He relied on the defense. He managed the games. It's just a lot of money for a game manager. That's my only thing.
And I think that's what I think that's what we're talking about here, is that it wasn't like he determined. Well, there was sometimes when he absolutely determined the outcome. I just remember him running all over the Bears and running the exact same play over and over again with the Bears, and the Bears are just standing there with their thumbs in their ass, like, oh, there he goes again. Maybe we should not go over there. But that's just a shit team. So there are games like that padded his stats. I think he ran for like 150 yards that game against the Bears, because the Bears are just fucking idiots and don't know how to change a game plan. But again, we're talking about 15 touchdowns versus 5 interceptions, as we're saying. He did have a 92.5 quarterback RTG, which a 60.8 QBR with a 67% completion.
Completion percentage is great.
The completion, it is, but he also he only had 472 attempts. How many attempts did Brady have last year? 15,000. I don't know.
In the history of the NFL,
I think that one of the things is when we looked at this contract. Okay, so he's got a 4-year, $40 million. So where is the quarterback contract? Where is the quarterback money gonna be in 4 years? All right, or where's it going to be next year? If he has,
not a doubt.
Let's just say we franchise tagged him, right? Okay, so we franchised him at whatever, and then he gets the $40 million. Has an awesome year, right? Blows up. You're going to be paying that dude 50 plus, right? If you think that he's going to be your quarterback, you might as well go ahead and give him this $40 million for 4 years, because at the end, if it's 2 years, that number could be 60. You just, the way that the quarterback market is and growing and just exploding. We're talking about Patrick Mahomes, who set the market and is like 3 years ago, and is now like the number 3rd or 4th paid quarterback. We're up into the $60 million for these quarterbacks now. So if he does have an explosive year like that, you're really handcuffing yourself. I don't know what the guaranteed money is on this thing, so I can't go into that. But at the end of the day, if after 2 years he's not your quarterback, you cut him. And what you're going to have a dead cap hit, obviously. But it's still not going to extrapolate out to $60 million a year. Now, again, after the end of the 4 years, if he's going to be up there, then you're going to get nailed with it. But I don't think anybody's signing a contract for over 5 years these days anyway.
Yeah, Daniel Jones was 3rd in rushing in the NFL behind Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. So shout out to Jeremy for getting us that info right there as well. Sincerely appreciate that. Listen,
there's no way that he had more rushing yards than Justin Fields. There's absolutely no way.
5th, he's saying now. 5th. Whatever.
He's even a Bear. He's even a Bears fan. How did you fuck that up, Swen? You're a Bears fan. Yeah, I was gonna say it was Fields, Lamar, Allen, Hurts, and then Jones. Like, holy shnikes.
That's pretty good. Whatever. What are you gonna do? Listen. I will say this. I think Daniel Jones will continue to perform, play well. That contract is gonna look like a steal for Patrick Mahomes in a year. We're going to be asking ourselves how he's only getting paid $50 million a year. It's just the world that we live in nowadays.
Well, I think we're at the point where when he comes towards the end, I bet, what year is he in this contract? Is this his 3rd year in that contract?
I believe so.
I think that the end of this year, you're going to see a restructure of a contract where he's going to get extended, and now it's going to be he'll be again the highest paid quarterback at 60 to 65 million, and then,
he deserves to be.
He deserves to be the highest paid quarterback. I mean, just his track record alone is great. But with that being said, and Daniel Jones getting this money, which again more than Derek Carr, more than the majority of quarterbacks in the league, Saquon Barkley now is hit with the franchise tag. So now we're on the same token again. You have 2 players that were both wanting to get paid. One didn't get paid. One's going to be on the franchise tag. There was questions about him staying in New York anyway. Does Saquon Barkley come in and play under the franchise tag as a running back next year?
Absolutely, and just because he's franchise tag doesn't mean that it means that they can now discuss long-term options with him as well too. To
But if he
re-sign him.
if he couldn't get a deal done before, how are you going to get a deal done now?
Priorities.
And to my
You're-
point, it's, as Lamar, as we talked about him not playing under the franchise tag, a running back has a far more chance of getting hurt than a quarterback.
Of course, it's also why they get franchise tagged.
Correct.
Because
So
if they get hurt,
so if
they
I'm
don't have to sign them to a long-term contract.
but if I'm Saquon, I don't know if I'm going to play under that. You won't if I don't get a long-term commitment by the time that the season starts. Why would I play under that?
It's his
if I-
prerogative. He's more than welcome to do that. I don't think he will. But
I don't know. It's very
I think
interesting
he'll
because
do it.
when we talked about Lamar doing it, we said that hey, if he doesn't play, that's not that big of a deal. But I think we have a little bit of different of a perspective when it comes to a running back and whether or not he's going to play under it. I don't know.
I guess maybe. I don't know. I mean, listen. I think Saquon will play under the $10 million tag. I think they will try to get a long-term deal done. Similarly, 3 or 4 years. Set him, towards the high end of the market when it comes to running backs, which I don't even know what
He
that
did
market
say
is.
he wanted Christian McCaffrey money.
Okay.
That's a lot of money, apparently.
It's a lot of money.
It's more than
for
our
a
money.
guy who's been hurt. Well,
Speaking of shopping running backs, the rumor mill is that the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry.
insane to me. It's like the only thing that's good about your team and your offense, you're like willing to trade. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, I think that just goes to show that they're ready to break it down and have a full rebuild. I'm salivating at this because if the Bears can get these hauls at these picks and potentially get Derrick Henry or something of that, I mean, holy shit. Could you imagine a backfield with Justin Fields and Derrick Henry? Who do you guard? Who do you guard? Now, granted, we don't want Justin Fields to be a primary running, but holy moly, dude. They were the number one rushing team in the NFL last year. You put a Derrick Henry back there, I think that's just going to open up the field so much. I'm salivating at. I don't know how many years Derrick Henry has left on the tank or what the asking price is, but I just want to live in a fantasy land right now and just have that in my mind and just think about roses and sunflowers and petals and strolling down the yellow brick road. That would be
I
great.
always think that Derrick Henry gets better as the year goes on because when it gets cold out and it's snowing and you have that man bearing down on you, how committed are you to trying to stop him in that hole? It's a very interesting thing to think about him, especially being at Soldier Field, being in a place, the Windy City, place that's known for running the ball, not throwing the ball over the field like that. I do love that fit there.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Bears can work that out.
That would be awesome. And just to wrap it up a little bit here on the NFL, before we get to the Gap Wedge Wednesday, Rodgers did meet with the Jets ownership in California. I think this is going to be a fit. I really think the Green Bay, even though they say that they want to keep him, I think they're ready to move on from him, and justifiably so. Every year it's, do I want to keep playing? Every year it's this. Every year it's that. I think that they're ready. I think they're ready to move on. I think that Matt LaFleur wants to get out from underneath Aaron Rodgers to have his own system,
Love,
whatever.
yeah,
I think
the
they're
guy
ready
who
to
we
move on.
drafted. I understand. Listen, I think it'll be a great thing for both parties. Especially seeing, just like when Brett Favre went to the Jets, it's the same thing. Rodgers going to the Jets. There's already history and precedent there. Not that it'll go well. As long as Aaron Rodgers isn't taking pictures of himself and sending it to, co-eds. But if we can, not do that, then yeah, we'll be absolutely fine. I think he'll be great.
I think it's a good fit. I think it needs to happen. Get him out of the NFC North is always a good decision.
That division would be so interesting to see then too, right? If you put Rodgers at with New York, you got Tua over there with the Dolphins. You have Josh Allen with the Bills, and then whatever the Patriots are going to do. I guess Mac Jones seems like they might want to move on. I don't know. You probably have more insight to that as having a Patriot fan in your household.
Yeah, because she knows a lot about sports.
Celtics fan.
The last thing I think is really funny is you see all this money being thrown about quarterbacks, and you got old man Rivers sitting at home on his couch, right, flipping through, checking out ESPN First Take, seeing 37, 35, 34 million dollars a year. Phillip Rivers is eyeing a comeback, and I would too. I would come back for him as a backup. You could probably get $10 million a year just to sit behind somebody. I just, with all the money coming out there, I'd be coming off my couch too.
He can't move. That's the problem.
It don't
Today's
matter.
NFL, No, it's not true. Today's NFL, you got to be able to move a little bit. You got to be
Brady
able to move
did.
the pocket.
Brady didn't move. That dude had
Brady-
roots.
Look at Brady last year.
Yeah, but he won the Super Bowl a couple years before that.
2 years before that, when he was moving around and moving the pocket and had a better O line. There's no way if Phillip Rivers comes back, I swear to God, he's like the quarterback that I despise the most ever since him running around doing the tomahawk chop for NC State after he beat Florida State at home.
Oh, it's amazing how college rivalries come through to the NFL.
Jericho Cotchery, bro. Jericho Cotchery catching passes all over Doak Campbell Stadium will always just chafes me.
Sometimes the college rhetoric just doesn't come through. What's up, Justice? How you doing? Yes, Justice is not a fan of Phillip Rivers either.
He's a Florida State fan too, just like me.
Oh, I knew there was something wrong with him. All right, let's move on from the NFL to greener pastures in the PGA. It is time for our Gap Wedge Wednesday segment with Chad and Paul. Chad, Paul, how are we doing today, boys?
Doing good. What's up, guys?
Good to hear. Good to hear. So the boys are on again. This is going to be, like we talked about, a regular segment. We're going to turn it over to them. We're going to do a little bit of a recap. And then moving forward, we have our first major. Is the Players considered a major, or is it like it's like a non-major major, right? That's what I think.
For a while, it was called unofficially the fifth major.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think of Bay Hill?
Pretty good week. I mean, a lot of fun, a lot of competition, a lot of drama. It was hot as hell.
I don't think we could ask for anything better than what we got on Sunday coming down the stretch there, right? I mean, just absolutely unbelievable to have all those guys bunched up on that leaderboard, and playing on a golf course that was so tough, especially on Sunday, without getting any rain, really, any moisture. It's basically like hitting a golf ball onto a pool table out there for these guys. Talk about what you saw a little bit, if you don't mind, Paul, on Sunday and the way that everything finished.
Yes, so Kurt Kitayama just sucked less. A lot of guys that we talked about last week, Hovland, Hatton, they were right there in the mix, and just a couple. Hovland rinsed it on 16. Hatton dunks it, or Hatton misses a couple of short putts. Yeah, that was it. It was the kid held on. He played great on the back nine. Chad could tell you a little bit more about that. I don't think you can duplicate that drama.
No, and it was crazy too. For a guy like Kitayama, and obviously we all have our own rooting interests. Going into Sunday, especially with people in contention, there's money and dollars that we see flying out the door or whatever's going on. So not that we're rooting for Kurt Kitayama, but I think we got to a point on Sunday where we were just so impressed after he makes the triple bogey on 9, I believe it was, right? Is that the hole that he tripled? Paul?
He definitely had a triple bogey.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the scorecard.
Yeah,
I know it was front 9. Front
9.
Somewhere.
I think it was 9, right?
Yeah.
I think it was 9.
Just to see the way that he bounced back, man, he hit the ball so well. His drives are literally as straight as an arrow. He hit some really clutch putts, and then also great iron play as well too on a lot of those things. Chad, what'd you think about the back nine and the way everything finished up this weekend at Bay Hill?
Well, I don't like to talk about the back nine because I was there live on 17 to watch my boys Spieth and Hatton both blow it for me. So, But
I was with you, Chad. I was with you. I had Spieth as well, and yeah.
Watching Captain Kurt do what he did was actually pretty amazing. Good to see for him.
I don't know if you guys caught the Monday show. I was really disappointed in Scotty Scheffler. Like, you're one shot back, or as Jeff said, he didn't know, but he was tied for the lead going into 18, and you leave it short in there. Not only do you leave it short, you bogey 18 just to put yourself completely out of contention. When you've been there before, it wasn't that tough of a shot. I was really disappointed in the way that he finished up.
Well,
yeah, he just saved his suck for 18. I mean,
what a better spot.
Hovland did it on 16. There were were 9 guys on Sunday that I thought had a shot
Mhm.
to close it out, and none of them.
8 of them screwed up.
Yeah.
Just
None
goes to
of
show you
them
the
did it.
pressure, the pressure of these tournaments and the pressure of that golf course. To like you said, all of these guys in contention. It's just which one holds on. And I do believe, Jeff, you were talking about, who was it? The guy that had like 14 straight pars.
Oh, so I was just saying, we were talking about how I was very impressed by Harris English this entire week. Listen, I know he's gone through whatever, and he's been up and down in the tour so far. But I just thought the consistency that he played with, especially at that golf course, and with how tough Bay Hill played, the way that he consistently hit fairways, and when he didn't, he was still able to get it up and down. Are those the type of things that you see performances like that, and it keys you into maybe a guy making a run or a top 20 at, let's say, a U.S. Open or a PGA Championship or somewhere that plays comparable to the way that Bay Hill was?
I think
Yeah,
the only. Oh, go ahead, Chad.
That's exactly what it takes. I mean, that's what they say about Bay Hill. It's a course as hard as a major. It's actually played harder than some majors most years.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. It's like you got to be able to grind out pars. You're not going to run away with this. You're not going to run away from the field on this course, unless you're someone like Tiger. But that's few and far between. But you gotta grind out pars, and just sink big putts.
So who is your most impressive performance from Bay Hill?
Easily Kurtiyama.
I think so.
He was no one was looking at him. He was I want to say 225 or 250 to 1. That's outrageous.
I would have been very curious to see what the live bet was when he triple bogeyed that, went 2 shots back. I mean,
he was plus 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah, we looked into that,
and
then we thought he was just going to keep folding, and he never did.
No.
And then Paul, who did you feel was your biggest disappointment?
Oh, I got this one. Starts with a W, ends with a Z.
Oh, Willie?
Yeah, he actually had his worst putting performance since the 2021 U.S. Open.
That's
So
tough
like
to
I
say
said,
for him.
If he can putt, he has a chance.
Yeah, I think public biggest disappointment was everybody was putting the cardigan on John Rahm on Thursday afternoon, and he melted over the weekend.
Except for this guy. This guy said he was going to miss the cut.
Well, I mentioned last week briefly Rory over John Rahm, if you had that, and that ended up coming. So
Great performance out of Rory as well.
Yeah,
Rory.
he did the opposite of what Rahm did.
Yeah,
Quick question
double
for you.
bogeyed on the front on day one.
Yeah, quick question for you, Paul. So you had made a comment. We talked about Justin Thomas. I know you guys told me not to take Justin Thomas, but I decided to take him anyway. Just because I don't know, I love JT, and we feel like going in. He's only a couple shots back going into the last round. Paul, you had made a comment that you thought that he might have figured something out with his driver. After watching his performance on Sunday and how he absolutely shit the bed, do you still feel that he might have found something there? Was there anything for us to take away from the Justin Thomas performance?
I think we're absolutely going to talk about Justin Thomas a lot more today.
Okay.
I think Bay Hill is one of those places that can undress the best golfer on earth. We saw it happen. John Rahm shot over par on the weekend.
Yeah.
And in previous years, that has actually won this event. But we had guys who were just making putts, making birdies, had guys digging in as deep as they have to come through and make their first win on the PGA Tour. And I hope Kitayama can continue to. I mean, he's top 20 in the world right now. So if he can stay around that area, he's fun to watch. He's a great story, and if he wins next year, he still has a chance to be Matt Every. But
yeah,
do I think he's the next Tiger Woods? No, but can he be a guy who contends week to week and is, a fun guy to watch? Absolutely. So,
I think he's played on every single tour there is. So,
yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
I thought I thought it was very cool that his nickname was the Project. That he wasn't the best golfer in college.
UNLV.
Yeah, and he wasn't good, and they took him under his wing and helped him, and just look at the progression. I mean, that's
Dude, it was so funny to see him standing outside the Players Championship with his caddy, and they were talking about, oh yeah, we had a few beers afterwards, and blah blah blah. And he's standing there with his glasses on and his hair all messed up, and he looks like every little nerdy kid that you saw in high school. Never underestimate people based off appearance, man. You never know who they are and what they have inside of them.
absolutely
But great job to Kurt Kitayama, man. What an impressive performance. Way to show guts and moxie and hang in there as well too. Anything else? We're about to put a cap on Bay Hill. If you guys are good to move on to the players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. We'll go ahead and start with you, Chad, if we can. What are you looking for this week? What do you see, and how is the course going to play for us going into TPC Sawgrass?
It's a Pete Dye course. Pete Dye has this thing where he likes to award guys that will play with the trouble. It's a big risk reward type of course. He's got water everywhere. I think on 17 of 18 holes. 88 bunkers, so you can find a lot of trouble. But I've actually heard some guys that have actually talked to him about his course design here, and he himself says, if you play with the trouble and go for it, and you feel confident you can make the shot, you're gonna have a lot better second shot, and you're gonna have a better chance of birdies. If you stay away from the trouble, there's more trouble that'll put you in worse off situations if you go that way. So he's all about the risk reward.
those are my favorite courses. The old spray and pray.
Yeah, exactly. And fairways here are tighter than most courses, and the greens are smaller. So once again, greens and regulation is going to be hard. So scrambling is going to be a big factor here. You're going to have to get up and down for pars, and that's one of the keys there.
So are we looking more at like guys who are gaining strokes around the green on short game? Is that something that we're kind of tapping into here, Paul, this week?
Yeah, you could look at that stat. That stat is going to be a little misleading. Yeah, I think there are, it's not a very long course. Whereas Bay Hill was 7,400. This is just a hair over 7,200, and most years it plays shorter than that. It's a par 72. Your green size is about 5,500 square feet. So while it's not, they're not big. They're not huge, I should say. They're not a 7,500 like we see on some courses. But the 5,500 plays to about 3,000 square feet, because where you have to hit the ball to make the putt. I mean, if we're looking at think about 17, right? The island green and 17. You can, to most of those flags, you can hit the middle of the green, and it's a 2-putt, and you walk away with your par, and you're happy. But a couple of those flags, if you're anywhere on the left side of the green and putting up the hill into the, from the pin or from the tee to the right, you're lucky. You're in trouble. So the Pete Dye experience is a lot of target golf, which makes greens even smaller than what they read on paper. So we're looking at guys who hit the ball close, and if they don't, can get up and down, either for birdie or par or better. That's the kind of stuff we're looking at. Also, approach shots, very important here.
Yeah, proximity is huge because, like you said, you have to be on the certain shelf. Like 17, like you sit there and, was it the Saturday or Sunday pin location where it's right there, like 5 feet from the water, or 5 yards from the water, but you can hit it 10 feet past and it rolls back down, where you see a bunch of the hole-in-ones and everything.
So do we have any guys that we're targeting this week in terms of, let's say, like a daily price, or let's maybe start with some long shots that we feel like might be able to get it done, maybe a top 20 or a top 10, or at least make the cut this week?
Yeah, well, there's a few trends out there that point to some long shots. You had, like, 4 of the last 9 have been longer than 66 to 1, so that's a pretty good start for that. You had 10 of the 11 were 22nd or better at the event before. 17 of 19 have been top 45 in the world golf rankings. And 15 of the last 15 winners have finished 23rd or better at the Players. So you've had to have played there before, and you got to know the course. Course setup is pretty big here. You got to know where you got to hit it, so your second shot you have a chance. Paul, do you have any other trends like that, or?
Yeah, so I have one. I just want to see who that gets us down to. You got a list there of if we take all the trends that have happened over the course of the last however long, I think some go back 24 years. Who fits all those trends?
I think I saw like Rory, JT. There might have been one more. I can't remember who it was.
Jordan, maybe.
No, Jordan. He's somehow he's not very good here. I don't get it.
Now
he was fourth the first time he played, and then he hasn't really done anything since.
He really struggled with his ball striking and his driver too, coming down the stretch there at Bay Hill. They thought that he tweaked his back, but they said after the round he was absolutely fine. So it's just something to monitor. I know sometimes Jordan can get a little haywire with the driver. Irons are always on point. Putting's always great, but it just seems to be a thing. So we said Justin Thomas.
Yeah. So what was that list again, Paul?
Yeah. So the trends that we got, and I want to give credit to where I found this trends list, is at PGA Splits 101 on Twitter. 6 players fit 8 of the 9 trends that we mentioned. Homa, Cantlay, Rahm, Hatton, Bradley, and Kirk. And only 3 fit all 9 trends, which is McIlroy, Thomas, and Jason Day. Now, I found one more. Over the last 7 winners, all 7 had finished in the top 28 in strokes gained scrambling the previous year. And that eliminates 2 of those guys, and you're left with only Justin Thomas. So I will add some mid guys, I will add some longer shots, and I will add some matchup stuff. But my one, I don't do this a lot, but my one flag in the sand bet is Justin Thomas this week.
And I've seen some other golf people on Twitter that I follow, and they are on the exact same page as you, that this is JT's week to go out there and win the Players' Championship.
And to me, that's the biggest red flag. It's always like fade the public, right? So if everyone's on JT,
yeah. When every single person picks the same team to win,
exactly.
It's like, everybody picked the Eagles. The Chiefs are definitely winning the Super Bowl, you know. But I think golf, it's just, I don't know. It just seems to me that golf is way more analytical driven than the variance that you have in football sometimes.
It's interesting to me. I'm sorry. Well, what
was that?
I just want to jump in real quick. It was interesting that you said Jason Day there, because Jason Day is, he's back in my area when I used to watch golf all the time, and he hasn't really done much lately, but he had a great performance at the Arnold Palmer this week, which it was up and down, but he came back towards the back end, and to see that he is actually on one of those lists after playing such good golf at the Arnold Palmer, he might have to be in my arsenal again this week, and I'm sure at a very valuable price point as well.
Yeah, the thing about Day, he's been playing very well this whole calendar year, since January. He was good in California. He's been good here. Playing really good golf right now. The only problem, though, is I don't see him on that top 28 from last year in scrambling. So you might want to rethink that.
Well, as Jeff will find out tomorrow when we play, but when you hit the fairways and you hit the greens, you don't need to scramble a whole lot.
This is true.
Do we? Is there any fadeable guys that we saw? One guy who just sticks out to me is Victor Hovland. The reason for that is being, the hole outs that he had out of bunkers, hole-in-ones from fairways, and to still not get it done in that situation, to me, is a red flag. You mentioned short game. You mentioned how many bunkers there are. But does that exclude guys like Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland in your mind?
I would definitely steer clear of Scotty this week. His best finish here is 55. He doesn't play very well here for some reason.
Especially after that mental collapse on 18.
Yeah, I mean that's probably not good.
He's a
Other
spray and
guys-
pray guy, right? Like kind of like Scotty Scheffler is kind of a spray and pray guy when it comes to
Yeah,
that.
I think so. He does hit it far, but
Scheffler
when
is
he
one
was
of the
number
best. Yeah, Scotty Scheffler is one of the best approach players on tour.
yeah when he was number
So,
one, he was
so when
hitting
he's
every
not in
green
trouble
spot.
off the tee,
Right.
he's and he's long. So he can make eagles on par fives, and he's got a shot to make birdie. Yeah, he had a bad hole on 18. That's for sure. He's one of the best players in the world. So to count him out, I'm a little hesitant. However, you mentioned the other guy, and that's Victor Hovland, and Vic can't chip. His around the green stuff is awful. So this is a place where you have to be decent around the greens. And I think, if you want to attack Vic, I think this is a great week.
As somebody who had BDV as well, who you so eloquently referred to him as in our group chat, to watch him, I think was it 8 where he drove the ball middle of the fairway. He's got a wedge in, hits the ball into the bunker, and then ends up making double because it takes him multiple shots out of the bunker to get out, puts himself against the lip, and then it was just that was a gut punch right there. That was one of those things where you took him pre-tournament, and that hole right there literally lost him the tournament pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was the start of it. He got himself back into contention till 16, where he hit probably the worst shot I've ever seen of a pro. He was literally in the middle of the fairway, and he hit a Jeff Schneider chili dip into the water. I'm like, what is this guy doing right now?
This man knows what he's talking about. All right, let's get
Those
on that note.
right
On
there.
that note, let's get into the
shit.
nitty gritty. Paul, I'm going to direct it to you. So let's get into who do we like this week? Who do we like top of the line? Who do we like middle line? Who are we thinking of going with this week at the PGA?
Yeah, so my number one top of the board is going to be Justin Thomas. I don't think there's a question there. A guy kind of middle of the pack or a little deeper that fits a lot of the trends is Sahith Theegala. Plays
There's
well
a name you
Florida,
don't hear
plays-
every day.
Plays well in the heat, and he's an up and comer. He's got the skill set. I would not be surprised if he's raising the trophy on Sunday.
Nice.
I like that.
Is that your dark horse?
He fits into the old 28 last year too.
Nice.
Yeah, I wouldn't say dark horse.
He's
He's
very
like 80 to 1.
But I think he's going to have longer odds than he should. I think you get a ton of value on him. I know Chad's got a couple other guys in that range, and I might be able to pick one out or two more if he, depending on where he's at.
Okay.
Yeah,
Chad, we'll turn it
the
over to
amount
you.
Yeah, the amount of value in this field is ridiculous because of all the top names playing. So, like, you have someone like Corey Connors right now who's playing great golf. He's 75 to 1. I don't get that. It makes no sense to me. He should be like about a 40, 45. But I'm going to be jumping on him because of the way he's been playing lately. And he's never missed a cut here, and he's only played when they moved it to March. So that's the only way he knows the course. Another guy that I've been looking at, I'm glad that Paul brought that top 28 strokes gained scrambling, because last year Matt Fitzpatrick was actually number 1. And that makes me like him a little bit more now. He's at 40 to 1, so that'd be some guys I'd be looking at. A long shot I'm looking into is JT Poston. He's at 225. Plays very good at the comp courses that they have here. RBC, Wyndham, places like that. Both coastal courses have some of the same conditions, and they're both birdie fests, just like this one can turn into if you're hitting in the right spots. And maybe take a flyer on like Tom Kim or Tom Hogue.
I was literally going to ask you about Tom Kim because I feel like his game is like perfectly tailored for this course.
Yeah,
for some reason.
he's not that long, but he's very accurate. I want to say he's 4th in strokes gained approach right now on the in this field. So if he's hitting it in the fairways, he can definitely gain some strokes approach. So he's got a chance.
Love that. Love that pick. Love that pick. Love that pick.
Don't steal it from me, all right?
I mean, what are you talking about? Steal it from you? I don't know.
I don't know.
I do know I came in second, although I did pick the wrong Taylor.
I saw that.
The correct Cole, but the wrong Taylor, which if you would have stopped after round 1 was a great pick, and then round 2 happened. The guy shot, 8 over,
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Nick Taylor or John Rahm?
What?
Nick Taylor or John Rahm? Great round 1.
Or Wyndham Clark.
Oh, that guy too, yeah.
The old WC. Guys, we appreciate you. Just to kind of run through real quick, some long shots that you had that we just want to run down. Just give us 2 real quick from both of you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Long shots.
Go ahead.
Long shots, I'd go Poston, maybe Ben Martin, and Justin Sue. I kind of like this kid too. He's up and coming, playing some good golf right now.
Any relation to Indomitian?
I hope not, because this guy has a better attitude.
Wonderful. Love that. Okay. Perfect. Paulie Parpuds, anything you got for us?
Yeah, so Chad's mentioned almost all of the long shots there, and the Stu pick there was actually going to be one of mine. But what I'll say, I'll add a mid-range guy, and then I'll throw out another long shot. Christian Bezadenhout for the long shot.
Okay.
Good tee degree guy, good around the green, good scrambler. And then Sunjay Im. I don't think I heard Chad mention him.
No, that's another one getting great odds. I think he's 45 or something like that.
Tremendous iron player, right?
A lot of value, and has played well at the Honda in the past. So can keep it in the middle of the fairway. And like everybody else on tour, if he gets a hot putter, I think he can be up there and somebody to talk about on Sunday.
Oh, what about the other Korean, who won the Sony this year? Siwoo.
Siwoo Kim.
Siwoo Kim.
He plays well here. He actually was. Is he still the youngest to ever win it here?
He might be. The year he won it, he did not have a single metric that I looked at on tour.
Yeah, but that's when he
inside the top
golf.
100.
No one had him winning that. Maybe Pat Mayo, but that's because Pat Mayo's been on him since his birth.
I think that's when Pat Mayo got on him.
Out of the womb?
Yeah, out of the womb, Kim.
Golf Twitter.
Alrighty then.
I will
Hey
say
now.
this though. Siwoo Kim was in the top 28 of scrambling the year before he won. So
Okay.
That is true.
So that top 28 is something that we really need to look at when picking the boys this week.
From
Love
last
that.
season. That's correct.
Top 28 from last season. Love that. Boys, thank you again. Sincerely appreciate it. It's a pleasure to have you on. Make sure you go find them on Twitter. Paul Roy, Chad Breen. Really appreciate you guys being here and guiding our listeners to making money. Always an appreciated thing.
Appreciate it, boys.
Thank you,
Thank
gentlemen.
you guys. We'll see you next week.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Lots of good info in there, man. It's a lot to take in, all of that info, digest it, spit it back out, and correlate that into making some good picks.
You need a pen and paper to write down all the stuff that we just found out, because or you can go back and just continuously rewatch the episode every single time. Make sure to like the tribe as well too. We appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. There's going to be a lot of retract, a lot of pausing, a lot of rewinding, a lot of notepads getting pens and paper down, and it's such a great segment as we continue to work on streamlining that. It's just going to get better and better with the information that we have at. So big shout out to the boys. I don't know what Jeremy is trying to. Oh, Jesus, he's writing stuff down on. Looks like printer paper. Looks like printer paper from his checkout from the night before. But thank you, Jeremy. We'll get that in there. Really appreciate that.
It's also written in shorthand, like he was taking a order as well too.
It does look like it.
Chad, Bud Light,
All right, that's going to do it for our Wednesday show. Big shout out to the boys again, Chad and Paul, for coming on for Gap Wedge Wednesday, giving us the insight information into the PGA Championship. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. Kickoff tomorrow on Thursday. I'm sure we'll have an opening round recap on our Friday show as we go to kick off the weekend. That's all I have for today. Jeffrey, anything else from you, my friend?
It is college basketball weekend this weekend. Conference championships going on. We do have the tournament that's going to be starting up next week as well, too. We're trying to get a special guest to break down everything March Madness for us as well, too. So look for that coming down the pipe as well.
Looking forward to that. You know, I really haven't watched hardly any basketball this year, and I usually don't until the March Madness tournament. It's kind of like the NBA to me, you know, a little bit. Like the regular season doesn't really matter.
To be fair, our teams were atrocious this year.
Yeah, well, ours have been atrocious ever since we lost the prodigy Billy Donovan. But you know, that's just life. You know, you can't hold on to him forever. If you love him, you have to let him go. But now he's on the Bulls, and now there's disappointment in Chicago. So I mean, it's just,
Florida State keeps on holding on to Leonard Hamilton forever too. So I mean, you know, obviously you absolutely can.
What are you gonna do?
Anywhere else? Here we are. All right.
Again, thanks a lot for everybody tuning in. Make sure, as Jeffrey said, you like and subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter. That's where you'll find most of our information, especially Go Live information, as well as Facebook. Thanks a lot. You can check us out on YouTube or Twitch. Subscribe, follow each one of those. We appreciate every single one.